Boston. What do you think, Wendy?
This is not a simple answer. And first off, to get to the finals, not win the title, because I think those odds kind of mirrors with the way I would sort of forecast it. I think the Celtics potentially have easier path. I mean, I don't want to say it's easy for anybody. The Celtics, to me, are the favorite in the East because how it tightly packed some of these teams are, and the addition of Jason Tatum. And I recognize that the Knicks did beat them 3 out of 4, and the Knicks beat them in the playoffs last year. However, none of those 4 games in the regular season came with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in the lineup. So I kind of want to push that regular season aside a little bit. I think Victor Wembanyama is going to be a load to deal with over the course of a 7-game series. We already saw in the games played in the regular season that the Thunder had difficulty just what he could do against them. So I think climbing the Spurs mountain potentially, or Denver, either or, is a little bit harder for Oklahoma City than what the Celtics are potentially facing. And so I say the Celtics by a nose.
Wendy's so funny. He just makes things unnecessarily complicated sometimes. It's really this simple, Wendy.
Called cautious.
Do the Celtics have to go up against Victor Wembanyama or Nikola Jokic in the playoffs? The answer is no, unless they get to the finals. So on one hand, you have a champion who's a walking triple-double, who led the league. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Jokic that's led the league in rebounding, okay, that's averaged a triple-double, and he's a champion, okay? Or you get to go against this 7'5" freak of nature who's a 5-inch taller version of Kevin Durant in some people's eyes. It's one of the two. So obviously the road to the finals is going to be tougher for OKC than it would be for the Boston Celtics, because if you're the Boston Celtics, you got an inexperienced Detroit Pistons team with their star who's been down, who doesn't have a reliable, dependent, bona fide, consistent number 2 scorer per se, even though Jalen Duren is something special. Or you got a team in Cleveland that is suspect defensively, and we have to see which James Harden is going to just show up come playoff time. Or you have a New York Knicks team that appears to be a shell of themselves in terms of toughness and grit compared to what we saw the last 2 years. Clearly the answer to this question is the Boston Celtics by a mile, because in the West, it's Victor Wembanyama and it's Nikola Jokic.
What's included? Wendy saying Wemby is a load in a 7-game series, Thunder struggling against him, Stephen A. firing back that Celtics have an easy path while West has Wemby or Jokic standing in the way, and the conclusion that Boston reaches finals by a mile. 3. Script, solid text, 5+ minutes, you speak after the cut. Brian Windhorst just made a bold statement. Victor Wembanyama is going to be a load to deal with over a 7-game series. And then Stephen A. Smith basically laughed at him. Here's the debate. Wendy says the Spurs are a legitimate threat. That Wemby already gave the Thunder problems in the regular season. That climbing the Spurs mountain is a real challenge for OKC. But Stephen A. shut it down. And his point is simple. The Celtics have to go through Detroit, Cleveland, and New York. None of those teams have Wemby. None have Jokic. The West? You get a 7'5" freak of nature who some people call a taller Kevin Durant. Or you get a walking triple-double champion who led the league in rebounding and averaged a triple-double. Stephen A. said it perfectly. Obviously the road to the finals is tougher for OKC than for Boston. And he's right. Look at the East. Detroit Star has no reliable number 2. Cleveland is suspect defensively. The Knicks are a shell of themselves compared to the last 2 years. Boston should walk to the finals. But here's what Stephen A. didn't address. Wendy's point isn't about who has the easier path. It's about who is more likely. Why to reach the finals? And Windy said something important. The Spurs have been nipping at OKC's heels all season. Even when the Thunder were winning every game, San Antonio was right there winning 26 of 28. They're not scared. And Wemby? In a 7-game series, with a week to prepare between games? That's when he becomes a nightmare. Because you can't scheme for 7'5". You can't practice against it. You just hope he misses. So here's the real question. And I want you to fight in the comments. 1. Who reaches the finals, Boston or OKC? 2. Could the Spurs actually beat the Thunder in a 7-game series? Yes or no? 3. Is Stephen A. right that the East is a joke compared to the West? Or is Windy onto something about Wemby being a load? 4. Does Victor Wembanyama become a top 5 player in these playoffs? Drop your takes. The best ones I read next video. Smash like if you think Boston cruises to the finals. Hit subscribe if you believe in Wemby and the Spurs. Let's go.